We have just found hidden cameras in Midas's yacht. Someone is spying on us, and we believe that it is our friend, Brutus. New challenges in the game are called Et tu Brute. This is a classic line from a Shakespeare play. This saying literally translates to, "You too, Brutus?" And this was said by someone that was actively being betrayed by someone named Brutus while being murdered. This was a hint for the possible betrayal of Brutus, but when we confront Brutus, he says,
"The cameras found in the yacht were hopes from when the society had the yacht."
Brutus is safe for now, but someone that isn't safe is Midas, because his plan to escape the island might not work the way he thinks it will. But before we can talk about that, we need to see
Midas's arrival.
Midas has just randomly appeared on our island, but there is a hidden backstory to why he is here and how he got here. If we go to the Underworld in the past update, we can see a locked prison cell, and the door is in the shape of a letter M. Later, we find out that this was Midas's prison cell. Midas was locked in the Underworld for some reason. He didn't die to get there though, as we noticed, since he still has his physical body. To get to the Underworld without dying, he had to have physically walked into the Underworld. I'll explain the reason he was in the Underworld at the end of this video. Hades found him and kept him in prison, but he ended up escaping the prison cell. Midas managed to get a prison guard to open one of the handcuffs, giving him enough time to turn the guard into gold and then escape, breaking down the door, leaving a golden reboot card in his place. That's how Midas got here, but Midas has some help waiting outside of the prison cell. Midas has escaped from the Underworld, and Marigold has been gathering up the old group that Midas used to have. Marigold's plan is to use the Marigold boat to escape the island, or so we think. Logically, this plan makes zero sense, because in the past, people have tried to use the water to leave the island, but failed because they realized that they would just fall off to space and die. Sadly, they realized it too late, but this is something that Midas should already be aware of. If the edge of the world will kill you, why does Marigold and Midas want to go there? There must be a bigger plan here. Maybe the floor's lava is a part of it. Maybe Midas is going to use the lava, and since it's gold, he can manipulate it. Maybe he will use it to take the Marigold boat up on the lava. I genuinely have no idea what Midas's plan is, so if you have any idea, leave a comment, and while you're down there, subscribe. The only thing I can think of is maybe during the Big Bang the loop got destroyed, and now we just don't have a loop anymore. Maybe there are actually other islands in this world, and they are wanting to drive the boat to a different island. There is a very controversial idea in Fortnite right now, and that is between Marigold and Midas. Some people think that Marigold is Midas's daughter, and the majority of people think that Marigold is Midas's wife. But I, and some others, believe that Marigold isn't Midas's wife, but in fact is an alternate version of Midas. Some people think that the reason that they have so much in common, the same skin tone, the same hair color, same eye missing, the same scar, some people think this is all due to the golden touch. When they obtained it, they were cursed with a missing eye and everything else. They say this is why they are so similar, but personally, I think it doesn't make sense. Why would the gold touch remove specifically one eye and make your skin pale? Also, isn't there supposed to be only one golden touch? There is also a new glider in the game that is called Queen of Gold, and Midas is called the King of Gold, so put them together and Marigold must be Midas's queen. But personally, I think this is wrong. I believe this is an alternate version of Midas. Marigold is Midas, but from a timeline where Midas was a woman instead. The reason they are so similar is because up until the moment that they met, their lives have played out the exact same way, even to the point when they met. But after that, they became their own person. The reason she is called the Queen of Gold is the same reason Midas is called the King of Gold. If their lives played out the exact same, as we see with Aurelia and Marigold, Midas had the same experience as them. Midas was called the King of Gold, but in Marigold's reality, she would have been called the Queen of Gold. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are husband and wife, but that they are the same person instead. And honestly, with an ego as big as Midas, they might love themselves enough to actually be married even though they are the same person. So maybe both theories work together after all. Don't forget that I have a huge idea about why Midas was in the Underworld, but we'll explain it right after this. We really don't know anything about Chapter 5. We don't know where the island is located. We don't know if there's a 0 point. We don't know if there's a flip side. We don't know if the IO exists. We hardly know anything. And in Chapter 2, Season 2, when Midas first came, he revealed for the first time the IO. And there are a few hints on the Chapter 5 island that the IO still exist. One of these hints is that Dr. Sloan is seen on one of the monitors. This isn't just regular Dr. Sloan though, this is an older version of Dr. Sloan. In fact, the IO version of her. And Fortnite Chapter 5 has many similarities to Chapter 2. First off, it both happened right after the end of Chapter 1. We got used to the new map in Season 1, and then in Season 2, we actually see Midas return. In Chapter 2, Midas came and then showed us who the IO was. What if in Chapter 5, Season 2, he also shows us the IO again? In fact, if they are actually here. There's another huge theory. What if Midas takes his boat to the edge of the map and takes us to Season OG again? But this time, instead of OG Chapter 1, it's Chapter 2 OG. And he takes us back to the season he first showed up in. This could be a huge event, and would actually be incredible. We all know that Midas was trapped in the Underworld by Hades, and by putting pieces together, we can assume that he went down to the Underworld willingly, because if you die and go to the Underworld, your body will be left where it died. But if you walk down to the Underworld, you will still have your body, and Midas still has his body in the Underworld with him. But why did Hades trap him, and why did Midas go into the Underworld willingly? Well, I have a huge theory towards this idea. In the actual Midas Greek mythology, he has a daughter named Marigold. In this case, it's not the same Marigold we know, but more like jewels. One day, Midas accidentally touches his daughter and she turns into gold. And Midas has to pay a huge price in order to get her back. That's the Greek mythology version. Now, if we go to the Fortnite version, we can assume it is something similar. What if Midas accidentally turned jewels into gold, and in order to get her back, he had to go into the Underworld and trade his life for jewels? That would explain why Hades wants him in prison so bad, and that would explain why he was down there in the first place. Use code PBJ and watch the video on the screen to learn the entire Season 2 storyline so far.